Manu Bhakar needed just 3 days at the Paris Olympics to win as many medals. The shooter who sprang out the scene as a teenage prodigy and flirted with greatness only to be held back by repeated instances of stage fright, joined the League of Indian Legends Tuesday. Or maybe she will be considered to be in a league of her own. With a bronze in 10-meter air pistol mixed team match while partnering Sarabjot Singh on the back of an individual medal in the same event, Manu became the first athlete from the country since independence to win 2 medals at the same Olympics. Manu and Sarabjot, two 22-year-olds from Haryana, combined to stun South Korea's Lee Wongo and Oh Ji-yeon 16-10 in the bronze medal playoff. Manu might not be done yet. On August 2, Manu will return to the shooting ranges in Chatterbox to begin her quest for an unprecedented hat-trick of medals. She will lead India's hopes in the qualifying round of the 25-meter pistol, a pet event according to her. It has given a lot of boost to the whole contingent. Before we came for our match, we saw that she won the bronze again. So we were like, it's our time, nobody can stop us. Really positive. Kudos to her to win 2 medals. Not only one is definitely not easy, Satvik said after the match on Tuesday. The euphoria over her second medal had not dissipated, but Manu was already training her guns on the next one. I had not hoped I had win 2 medals in a single Olympics. Any athlete who starts playing dreams about competing at the Olympics and winning a medal for India. This is a piece of that dream. The first piece is in the bag. She had in a measured tone holding her medal. There is one more match to go. I am looking forward to it. Manu and Sarabjot recovered from a shaky start, with Manu holding fort with precise shooting when her partner was overcome with nerves initially. Another moment of sweet redemption as fingers were pointed at her poor scores of the mixed team's failure at the Tokyo Olympics. The enormity of Manu's feat cannot be overstated enough. Sportspersons spend most of their entire life living and training in isolation and putting themselves through an enormous grind in the hope that someday, they stand on the Olympic podium at least once. With an air of casualness, Manu had won 2 in the space of 72 hours. This is even more significant for a country like India, whose fortunes at the Olympics have always ebbed, with more stories of disappointments than success, and where athletes have become legends for nearly winning an Olympic medal. The last 16 years have been revolutionary. In 2008, shooter Abhinav Bindra's gold medal in Beijing taught the rest of India to believe. Wrestler Sushil Kumar then showed that it is possible to win a medal not just in one but a back-to-back Olympics, opening the doors for the likes of badminton star PV Sindhu, who followed on the same path. Javelin ace Neeraj Chopra's gold, the country's first ever medal in track and field, was a lesson in dominance and non-challenge. Now Manu is writing a new chapter. Born to a merchant navy father Ramakrishna and mother Sumedha, a former school principal, Manu, a political science graduate and a student of public administration, was keen on a career in boxing, inspired by Mary Com's bronze medal at the London Olympics. Growing up in Jhajjar, she even dabbled in tennis and kabaddi, and even trained in Thang Ta, the martial art, before Ramakrishna took her to a shooting range. She was 14 at that time, and there has been no looking back since. Indian marksman Jaspal Rana, a former World Championship and Asian Games champion, took the teenager under his wings and transformed her into a champion shooter within a couple of years. But by the time Manu turned 16, she was a Commonwealth Games gold medalist and a Youth Olympics champion. She, however, never lived up to her initial promise. A familiar frailty crept into her game wherever she competed to shudder in pressure situations on the big stage. This habit would haunt her at the Tokyo Olympics. Her entire sporting career, Manu dreamt of being at the games. When she was finally there, it turned into her worst nightmare. She could not qualify for the finals of either of the 3 events and had a bitter falling out with Rana. The two patched up last year. Manu went against the advice of most in her inner circle, and she re-emerged as a different and more confident shooter. The Tokyo Games, Manu said, gave her a sense of how special Olympics are. So many people watch it, and she returned with a newfound respect for athletes like Neeraj and Sindhu. I always looked up to them. They have been able to prove themselves at a certain level, she said. She credited her turnaround to a wide range of people supporting her, from the coach and her family to the support staff, the chef, cleaners, house staff, people who help on the range, guards who take care of us when we are sleeping. So many people so many people's hard work. I can't claim this medal just for myself, she said. The journey continues. She says on Friday she will be back at the range with compatriot Isha Singh in another event where Indians are expected to do well. But she had the two medals won't distract her. I will put my head down and carry on. I'll try my best. Let's see how I can perform, she said. But I hope the love stays. I know people are not disappointed or anything. The hilly areas of Mepadi in Kerala's Wayanad district became the site of a calamity as massive landslides swept through several villages, killing at least 122. The tragedy struck past midnight while the initial landslide took place around 1 am. Another followed at 4:30 am, which meant most of the dead were buried in their sleep with little chance to escape. The toll is expected to rise and around 200 people are also injured, officials said, adding that many could have been swept away or still be trapped under the debris. Kerala Chief Minister Pinari Vijayan said 45 camps have been set up in the district and over 3,000 people have been rehabilitated there. With landslides affecting several villages such as Mundakai, Choramala, Atamala and Nolpuzha, and the rain showing no sign of stopping, authorities raced against time to rescue those who may still be trapped. While the army has deployed 200 soldiers from the Defence Security Corps and a medical team to assist with the locals. 2 passengers were killed and at least 16 were injured when several coaches of the Howrah-Mumbai Mail derailed in Seralaka, Khasurahan district of Jharkhand early Tuesday. Although the railway is investigating the cause of the derailment, sources in the national transporter said the 22-coach Mumbai-bound express train may have collided with the carriage of a partially derailed goods train that was stationary on a parallel track. Prima facie, the train hit the edge of one of the derailed carriages of the goods train, which had come to a halt on a parallel track. The Howrah-Mumbai Mail's engine bears collision marks on its right side. However, it is not clear how the collision took place, said a source. In a scathing attack in Lok Sabha Tuesday on leader of opposition Rahul Gandhi over his claim that there were no SCs and ST among officials who prepared the budget, Union Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman sought to know why there was no SC in the Rajiv Gandhi Foundation or among the 5 trustees of the Rajiv Gandhi Charitable Trust. Earlier, Sitharaman's BJP colleague and former Union Minister Anurag Thakur, who did not name Gandhi but targeted him over his demand of caste-based census, said जिसकी जात का पता नहीं वो गणना की बात करते हैं. Whose caste is not known talks about census. The remark led to an uproar and SP's Akhilesh Yadav questioned how anyone could ask about a person's caste in the house. Jagadambika Pal, who was chairing the proceedings, said nobody should ask about anyone's caste in the house as he would expunge the remark, but until midnight Tuesday there was no official communication on the removal of the remark from the house records. In the house, Gandhi told the chair, Anurag Thakurji insulted me, but I don't want any apology from him. I was waging a battle. Insult me as such as you wish, but don't forget we will ensure the passage of the caste census here. Sitharaman said she was pained to hear the casual conversation on the budget halwa ceremony by the leader of opposition. She cited Jawaharlal Nehru's statement against reservation in services, the shelving of the first backward class commission under Kaka Kalelkar, the placing of the Mandal Commission report on the back burner by Indira Gandhi and Rajiv Gandhi's interview to a journalist against reservation. How many SCs, STs and OBCs are there in the Rajiv Gandhi Foundation? There is not a single SC. Charity begins at home. Among the 5 trustees in the Rajiv Gandhi Charitable Trust, there is no SC, she said. We all can try to do something good for SCs and ST, but when generation after generation the statements are similar and there is no tangible work, how will anyone trust our big statement, she said. Day after leader of opposition in Lok Sabha Rahul Gandhi displayed a photo of the halwa ceremony saying there was no Dalit, tribal or backward class person in the image. Union Health Minister JP Nadda Tuesday asked the opposition party as to how many members from OBC, SC and ST communities were there in National Advisory Committee during UPA regime. On the board of Rajiv Gandhi Foundation and the CWC, Gandhi had claimed that of the 20 officials who had worked on preparing the union budget, only one was from the minority committee and one belonged to the OBC community. The halwa ceremony precedes the printing of the union budget. Participating in the discussion on budget in Rajya Sabha, Nadda said that Congress leaders were averse to reservations and Swaminathan Commission recommendations on SP hike when the party was in power, but it is now trying to become a campaign of OBCs and farmers and is shedding crocodile tears. He said what Rajiv Gandhi said about the Mandal Commission report. One man's obstinacy. If we talk about PM Modi ji, be it first cabinet, second cabinet or the third, maximum OBC and SC/ST members have been in our cabinet, he said. Stating there has been politics over Agnipath scheme. He said, you have become well-wishers of the army. I have been saying there should be no politics on national issues. We should keep the army out of politics. This decision has been taken after 400 to 500 consultations. He said, adding, it is the NDA government under PM Modi that implemented the one rank one pension scheme. बचेगा तब तक वो विषय डालता है. Prime Minister Modi's likely visit to Ukraine next month should mark a reconfiguration of India's approach to European security. Although political rivalries among European powers have shaped the evolution of modern India in Asia, European geopolitics has fallen off India's strategic radar in recent decades. The war in Ukraine, however, has put the question of Europe right at the top of India's international agenda. India's public discourse has treated the Ukraine question either as a pressure point from the West or as a moment of solidarity with Russia. Delhi should instead see the war in Ukraine as an imperative for long overdue re-engagement with European peace and security. To be sure, India has in the last few years stepped up in political and diplomatic engagement with Europe, a leading economic partner and an important source of technology, civilian and military. It now needs to lend a strategic character to it. The last decade and more have seen Delhi recalibrate its strategy to Asia and its waters, the Indo-Pacific, as well as reorganize its approach to the Middle East. But Europe has remained outside the effort to redraw India's mental map. Since the end of the Cold War, Delhi had little reason to think of a peaceful and integrating Europe in geopolitical terms. India's non-strategic thinking on Europe was reinforced by Europe's mercantilism. कैसा है? Although Europe proclaimed the ambition to be a geopolitical actor, it could not shake off its strong bias towards trade and commerce. Both the European and Indian complacency have been shaken to the core by the Russian invasion of Ukraine. The resentful Russia feels cheated out of the agreement signed at the end of the Cold War and has raised the stakes of restructuring the European security order. It is willing to play hardball to achieve its objectives. Meanwhile, the US, which stepped out to assist Ukraine after the invasion, faces serious internal divisions on how to approach the endgame. Sections of the Republican Party are opposed to the present course in Ukraine. Some want to escalate and others de-escalate. Many in the US want Europe to take greater responsibility for defending their region against Russia and relieve America to focus on Asia. Europe's problem of dealing with a changing America is complicated by deep internal divisions on how to deal with the Russian question. Two historically neutral countries, Finland and Sweden, have joined NATO amid their growing sense of threat from Russia. But two NATO members, Hungary and Turkey, have sought to pursue their own paths to dealing with the war in Ukraine. Many European political parties on both the left and right are in favor of a compromise with Moscow. To make matters worse, Europe is torn between criticizing China for its material support of the Russian invasion of Ukraine and the pleading with Beijing to restrain Moscow. But simply, Europe is facing a hard geopolitical dilemmas. Answer to Europe's problem lie in building its own defense capacity, but that can only be done over the longer term, assuming here there is a unity and seriousness of purpose. The return of war to Europe has created multiple economic challenges for India. It has also complicated India's security challenges. If its relationship with Russia has come under the political scanner in the West, Beijing's growing ties with Moscow and its strategic forays into Europe have introduced new uncertainty into India's security calculus. But, however, has not dismissed the Ukraine conflict as somebody else's war in a distant land. Although it has not been at the forefront of the global diplomacy on Ukraine, Prime Minister Modi's recent visit to Moscow and his planned trip to Kyiv next month provide an opportunity to intensify India's peace diplomacy in Ukraine. Some analysts will say the Ukraine war is not ready for a resolution, although both Moscow and Kyiv are paying a high price of the conflict that is now 2.5 years old. Neither is ready to make big moves for peace. They may be tired but not exhausted. One of the conditions for peace negotiations, Moscow and Ukraine would also want to see the outcome of the US elections, a major variable shaping war and peace in Ukraine. Should Delhi invest its political and diplomatic capital in supporting the peace efforts in Ukraine? Skeptics would say that the impact of any Indian peace effort would be marginal, but supporting the peace process even in a limited way would be worthwhile given the implications of the war for the Indian economy and security. Limiting the conflict between India's old friend Russia and its new partners in the West is in India's long-term interest. History of great power conflict in our region reminds us that China will always be the main beneficiary of a conflict between Russia and the West. Even more important, Delhi's peace diplomacy in Ukraine will be a crucial step towards India's strategic re-engagement with European security. It marks an end of the long Indo-European geopolitical holiday. In the colonial era, the Indian princes sought to exploit European rivalry in the subcontinent to secure their freedom of action. As Great Britain consolidated its position, sections of the Indian nationalists worked in the European powers, France, Germany and Russia to defeat British rule. Imperial Germany, for example, supported the formulation of the first provisional government of India in Kabul in 1915. Britain relied on Indian troops to defeat rival powers in the First and Second World War. 1 million Indian soldiers participated in the first and 2 million in the second. The Cold War and the post-Cold War era saw the steady diminution of India's strategic engagement with Europe. The conflict in Europe is unlikely to end with a ceasefire in Ukraine. It will be quite a while until a new European security order is constructed. Asian powers like China, Japan and South Korea are now actively involved with European security. India has even higher stakes in European geopolitics. In the lead up to the 100th year, Narendra Modi gave a birthday gift to RSS. Amid speculations of deepening rift between the RSS and the Modi-Shah controlled BJP, the NDA government withdrew the 1966 order that prohibits government employees from participating in RSS activities. In this on olive branch, considering the explicable statement made by JP Nadda almost declaring independence from the RSS in the middle of the Lok Sabha elections, whatever the motive behind the move, the RSS has now become a state within the state, much like and dreaded. This comes on top of several cultural institutions, grants and appointments going to the people and organizations belonging to or close to the RSS. From Sainik schools to campus capture, from bureaucracy to UPSC and NTA, the RSS now infiltrates every facet of our lives, undermining merit for ideology. An Israeli airstrike targeted a senior Hezbollah commander in Beirut's southern suburb late on Tuesday. It is in what the Israeli military said was retaliation for a cross-border rocket attack 3 days before that killed 12 children and teenagers. A loud blast was heard and a plume of smoke could be seen rising above the southern suburb, a stronghold of the Iran-backed Lebanese armed group Hezbollah. At around 7:40 p.m., a Reuters witness said a senior Lebanese security source said a senior Hezbollah commander had been the target of the airstrike and his fate remained unclear. The race to define Vice President Kamala Harris began in earnest on Tuesday, with both her campaign and former President Donald Trump's team unveiling television advertisement that aimed to explain her biography to voters in battleground state. Harris, new ad, her first since becoming the party's de facto nominee, labels her as fearless while leaning into her time as a local and state prosecutor. She put murderers and abusers behind bars, and narrator states Kamala Harris has always known who she represents. Trump's new ad meanwhile attacks her as being weak on the border. It suggests that she is responsible for millions of border crossing and 250,000 deaths from fentanyl, which the ad says occurred on Harris' watch. It closes with a new Trump tagline for Harris: failed, weak, dangerously liberal. The new ads will cost tens of millions of dollars and run in those key states. Harris spoke in the beginning of what her campaign said would be a $50 million blitz before the Democratic National Convention, which begins on August 19 in Chicago. The Trump campaign is spending more than $12 million across Arizona, Georgia, Michigan, Nevada, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin over the next 2 weeks, according to data from a media tracking service. Its first major television ad purchase since Biden made way for his vice president. Adani Energy Solutions, the power transmission arm of the Adani Group, raised $1 billion through a qualified institutional placement issue. The issue was oversubscribed 3 times with demand of around 26,000 crore, marking largest transaction in the India's energy space. The QIP closed at rupees 1135 per share against the issue price at rupees 976 per share. Global investors, including these and some new names from the US, participated in the issue. Domestic institutions including Bandhan MF, Numora 361 and India Infoline also participated in the issue. The Ministry of Mines was forced to scrap the auction of the lithium block in Jammu and Kashmir's Riyasi district for the second time, following weak investor response. This comes nearly 18 months after then Mines Secretary Vivek Bhardwaj announced the discovery of an inferred deposit of 5.9 million tons of lithium ore, pitched as among the largest deposit in the world in Riyasi last February. As officials weigh the most need for further exploration before attempting another auction, last year's optimism have given way to a sobering reality. These are early days for Surya Kumar Yadav as captain, but he is already making all the right impressions, reinforcing the faith shown by the selectors and the head coach Gautam Gambhir for the role ahead of Hardik Pandya. For the first time in the series on a pitch that had something for the bowlers, especially the spinners, defending a paltry 137, India managed to tie the game and take it to the super overs. At 108 for 1 at the end of 15 overs, Sri Lanka had the game in their bag. Or so one thought. Instead, they self-destructed, losing their next 7 wickets for just 22 runs. In 3 successive matches, their batting unit has endured 3 collapses, and this one was perhaps the most soul-crushing of the lot. It was Kusal Mendy's dismissal in the second ball of the 16th over that changed the course of the innings for the host. In the last 4 overs, with 8 wickets in the hand, Sri Lanka needed 23. Washington Sundar's twin strike of Vanidu Hasranga and Charit Haslanka made Sri Lanka press the panic button. But a wayward over from Khalil Ahmed, where he set down 5